Hey out there, legal warriors. What to do if your loved one is arrested and is in jail, how to get them out. If you're interested in that area of the law, stay tuned. This is the video for you. My name is Attorney Lance Fryrear. I'm a defense attorney in Linwood, Washington. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes all throughout Washington state for more than 25 years. And I'm putting out these videos to help educate the public. So if you find this useful, please like and please subscribe. More people get to see it. More people get the help they need. Now, as always, I'm just going to jump right into it. So I've been a defense attorney for 25 years. And as many of you know, I was a prosecutor 7 years before that. And I'm the person still in this firm because I'm a little crazy. I handle the weekend arrests where loved ones are calling in with no information about what's going on. Their loved one got arrested for a DUI or an assault or something else, and they have nowhere to turn to. And of course, most law firms aren't necessarily open on the weekend. I handle the stuff, but the purpose of this video is to sort of give you some education about how it works in Washington state and some key pointers that you might be able to use to know what to expect, some key gotchas that are sort of misinformation you might see online, and also, finally, what you need to do to try to make sure you can get your loved one out as soon as possible, and also maybe so you can keep them with their job, because, no calls, no shows are not very good for future employment. So we have to remember that if somebody gets arrested, we think they're going to get that one phone call, right? They're going to be able to call us right away. That's not really how it works too often. It's going to take a long time for them to get booked into jail. They may not ever even get to a phone to get a hold of you. I mean, if they do get to a phone, the odds of you actually getting the call and typing in the numbers right and putting in your credit card so you can accept the collect call, it's sort of a nightmare. So the first thing I think you should do if your loved one is arrested is identify in your brain, right, what county were they arrested in? Was it King County? Was it Pierce County? Was it Snohomish County, where my firm is located, just north of Seattle? And in this video, I'm going to use Snohomish County as an example, but it also applies to other counties. It also is going to apply to city jails. There's county jails if you get arrested for a felony or by a state officer, like a state trooper or a sheriff. They're going to take someone to the county jail, but certain cities have city jails. Linwood, Kirkland, Kent, they have their own jails, and so there's a few places you may have to look. But the first thing you want to do, let's just imagine this hypothetical is a Snohomish County type situation where someone gets arrested. Remember, this applies to other counties too. The first thing you want to do is search for that county's jail register. So go to Google, type in Snohomish County Jail Register, and then you're going to find a link that you can click. Now, the software that they're going to use online, the interfaces, they vary terribly, and be patient. They're hard to work through, okay? I do this all the time, and it's hard for me. But what we're going to be looking for, you're going to be looking to see, is there a bond amount already listed on the jail register? And for this example, we're going to go ahead and pull up sort of an anonymous type possible entry in a jail register so I can go over that with you here. So now we put this example up on the screen that's sort of an anonymous version of what a booking might look like in the jail registry, in this case for Snohomish County. Now remember, like I said before, the interface is not everything's going to look like this. King County is going to look different. Pierce County is going to look different. Skagit County is going to look different. But in this situation, there's going to be the subject's name. Here it's blanked out. Let's say it was John Smith or someone like that. Sorry for all the John Smiths in the world. I'm not talking about you. There's going to be typically a bond amount listed. Now, if there's an actual bond amount, a number besides zero, that means, hey, it's time to act. We can post a bail or a bond to get somebody out of jail. And for example, Snohomish County non-felonies and non-domestic violence cases have default bonds. A gross misdemeanor like a DUI, it's typically a $2,500 bond to get someone in jail. Simple misdemeanors, there's not many of those, but those exist, are more like $1,000 to get someone out of jail. And if there's a bond amount, always we say, get that person out of jail, right? Get them out. There's doing no good sitting in jail. And let's say it's a $2,500 bond. If you've watched the station, you may know, typically a bonding company will charge 10% of that as their fee to post a promise to pay the $2,500, or if there's an attorney, they'll charge 8%. And in this example, though, you see it's different. This example, it shows the bond is zero. And why is the bond zero? Because in Washington State, on a domestic violence arrest, the court is required to review the report and consider setting conditions like a no contact order prior to somebody being released. So let's say someone got arrested Friday night and they're in jail, and I get the call like I always do, hey, can I get my loved one out of jail? And I'm like, not yet. We don't know with that case, where are they going to be held until Monday? Because normal court, minus King County, they have some Saturday court, normal court is going to only happen Monday to Friday. Or is there going to be what we call in the industry paper court? And this can be very confusing for people. What is paper court? Well, paper court isn't even court, okay? Paper court means that, hey, maybe a judge or a commissioner is going to come in on the weekend and go to a courtroom or just their office and look at the probable cause arrest reports and get people released from jail without there actually being hearings. That happens quite often in the bigger counties. Now, in the example that you see here, we've blanked out the court date, but that court date, let's say it said there was court on Sunday. Let's say it was a Sunday court date listed. You got arrested Friday, your loved one did, and it says court was on Sunday. That's not actually court. If it's on a Sunday, it's paper court. I've had people actually call me and say, Lance, I went up to the court and the jail and they wouldn't let me in. I'm like, yeah, it's closed, because it doesn't really tell you that. So in that case, if it lists a paper court, what's supposed to happen is that judge or commissioner is planning to come in on that day and look at the paperwork and possibly release the suspect. So as the loved one, what you need to do in that situation is keep refreshing that record. Refresh it on Sunday after that period of time to see if it shows a bond amount now listed. If they just get released without bond, it typically is going to say court order. Okay, and that means they've been ordered released, and the bond will still say zero. If it says court order, that means, hey, my loved one is getting released. They've been ordered released. If there's a bond amount now there, no one's going to probably call you and tell you about the bond amount. It's hard for that person, the inmate, to get to the phone. Now it's time to get a hold of that bonding company and get that person out of jail. And remember, jails don't take bonds 24 hours a day, right? Each court is different. So why you want a bonding company is they're going to know when they can go there and when they're open. Some people want to go post their own cash, like let's say it's $2,500. Well, I want to pay $2,500 cash to the jail, so I'm not out the $250 to the bonding company. Trust me, it's worth it to use the bonding company. They know what they're doing. Unless it's a huge number, right? And you have a lot of cash you want to give to the jail, it's better to use the professionals. So let's say that your loved one is ordered released. What happens? Do they drive them home? No, man, they just dump them. They just dump them right out the jail, right, with whatever they had on them. And this might take, it depends. Most of the counties might take 6 to 8 hours to get released from jail. A city jail, they might get out in 30 minutes. Okay, your mileage may vary. That's why you should always try to talk to a local attorney, at least in the state, who has some experience in the real world about what happens, because this stuff is not written down. I personally have to keep basically a database of when someone gets arrested in a certain city, what I expect, and for a certain county, what I expect, right, from past happenings, right? Hey, if you're arrested in Bothell, I can see that they're going to have a court date Monday at this time if they were arrested on the weekend. If you're arrested, in Edmonds, is going to be a different time, because you just can't get a hold of anyone to tell you. And some of these jail registers don't say anything. Like the King County Jail Register is nowhere near as thorough as the one that we put up here on the screen for this particular hypothetical. So what do you need to do then? You need to stay by the phone, because, of course, your person might call you. And if they do call you, tell them, please do not talk about the facts of the case, right? It's a recorded line. The most you want to hear is, hey, do you know you have a court date? Or if you've hired an attorney for the person, we've hired you an attorney, right? But don't let them start blabbering on about the crime, especially if you're a mother, right? Son wants, or daughter wants to talk to mom. Here's all the stuff that happened. That's all evidence that's being used against them. And as you may or may not know, a prosecutor can sit in their kitchen table with their computer and type in that inmate number and listen to those calls, right, at any time they want. And we don't want them talking about the case. So if they're in a jail like SCORE, right, which is down in Des Moines and handles a lot of the cities for King County. There, it's even more complicated. If they're ordered released, they need someone to come pick them up, or they just don't release them for a long time. And so you need to talk to an attorney because each place is different. So let's say that you look at the jail register and it doesn't tell you any information about when court's going to be, and it may not say that. So what do you want to do then? Well, if you haven't got a hold of an attorney to let you know what to expect, lawyer Google's not going to tell you. Google's not going to know. AI is not going to know. You can prove me wrong in the comments, but that's not going to know. It's just not online. You're going to want to get a hold, at the very least, of a court the first day the court is open, right? You can try the jail. Some jails will actually pick up, like Issaquah jail is pretty good. They might pick up if your loved one's in the Issaquah jail. But you're going to want to get a hold of the court if you haven't got an attorney to say, what should I expect? Because typically there may be a first appearance if it's a county arrest. It may be an arraignment if it's a city arrest. But the bottom line is realize that you need to talk to that lawyer who knows what's going on so they can help you predict what the next best steps are. Because if it's likely they're going to be held until Monday and they have a normal Monday to Friday job, they're not getting to work Monday. Then we got to think about, do we know the work? What can we tell the work? Is it personal day? We certainly don't want to say, oh, by the way, they got arrested for tearing up a bar, right? We don't want to tell them that. So we want to know ahead of time and start to predict what we need to do, because it's a terrible experience for your loved one, right? They didn't plan to show up in jail. They're worried about you. They're worried about their pets. They're worried about their job. They might be drunk and ill and all these other types of things. And so this video is about empowering you to try to figure out what to do. What you don't do is just let them sit in jail if we have a bond, okay? Because if we leave them sit in jail when there's a bond, that prosecutor shows up and the prosecutor sees there's already a bond. Well, I'm going to file a charge more quickly because I want to keep them in jail. Because the best way to force a plea of guilty out of someone is to keep them in jail. It's one of the secrets of the system. And people that are stuck in the system understand, if you get put in jail, the easiest way to get out is to say you did it. Right, is to plead guilty. And so we don't want to create that incentive for the prosecutor who's only looking at your loved one's case as a file to act in some type of robotic way and be more likely to charge your loved one with the crime if they're only under arrest at this point. So what's the long and short of it? We got to get people out of jail. You got to talk to a qualified attorney so there's a good prediction, but you can get information by looking at these jail registers. The only exception, if you see a weekend court date, if it's King County, one of the exceptions is sometimes they actually do have a 1 or 2 p.m. calendar that's actual court. But for the most part, if it's a weekend court, it's not real. It's paper court. And, don't bother to go show up. But check on your own, because it's not legal advice. This is simply telling you what I've experienced from 30 years of doing this type of work. So I hope you find this helpful. If so, please like, please subscribe. More people get to see it. More people get the help they need. And more importantly, if you've got a criminal matter in Washington State, feel free to reach out to our firm. If we get on board, we'll listen to what happened, we'll identify a way forward. We will be there for you. Thank you.